Have you ever started a conversation in English and then suddenly had no idea what to say next? Someone asks you a question, you answer, they smile, and then silence. You start thinking, what should I say now? Should I ask another question? What if my English is not good enough? What if I say something strange? So you simply say, okay, yes, me too, and the conversation ends. If this happens to you, do not worry. You may not have a speaking problem. You may simply need to learn how to continue a conversation, because having a conversation is not about knowing thousands of English words. It is about knowing what to say next. And today, you are going to learn simple techniques that you can use with friends, coworkers, classmates, customers, strangers, and almost anyone you meet. Welcome to the channel. In this video, we are going to learn how to keep an English conversation going naturally. You will learn what questions to ask, how to respond, how to show interest, how to give longer answers, how to change topics naturally, and what to say when your mind suddenly becomes empty. Let us start with the biggest mistake people make. They answer the question and stop. Imagine someone asks, "How was your weekend?" You say it was good. Then silence. The problem is not your grammar. Your answer is simply too short to give the other person something to continue with. Instead of saying, "It was good," try, "It was really good." I went to a new restaurant with some friends. Now the other person has something to ask about. They may say, "Oh, really? What restaurant did you go to?" And the conversation continues. This gives us the first important rule. Do not only answer the question, give the other person something to respond to. You can do this with a simple formula. Answer, detail, question. For example, how was your weekend? It was great. I went hiking with some friends on Sunday. How about you? Now you answered. You gave a detail. And you asked the other person a question. That is a conversation. Let us look at another example. What do? I work in marketing. I've been doing it for about 3 years. What about you? That answer is much better than simply saying, "I work in marketing." You do not need a complicated answer. Just give one extra detail. This brings us to the second rule. Give one more sentence. When someone asks you a question, do not immediately stop after answering. Give one additional piece of information. For example, do you like your job? Instead of yes, say, "Yes, I do. I really like working with my team." Do you like living here? Yes, I do. It is a quiet area and there are many restaurants nearby. Do you like cooking? Yes, I do. I usually cook dinner at home because it is healthier and cheaper. One extra sentence can completely change a conversation. Now let us talk about questions. Any English learners think they need to ask complicated questions. You do not. Simple questions are often better. What do you do? Where are you from? How long have you lived here? What do you usually do on weekends? What kind of music do you like? What do you do for fun? How did you get interested in that? What do you think about it? Have you ever tried it? Would you like to do it again? These questions are simple but powerful. The secret is not asking 100 different questions. The secret is learning how to ask a follow-up question. A follow-up question is a question connected to what the other person just said. Imagine someone says, "I went to Japan last year." You could say, "That sounds interesting. What was your favorite part of the trip?" They say, "I really love the food." You can ask, "What kind of food did you try?" They say, "I tried sushi and ramen." You can say, "Which one did you like better?" Now you have a natural conversation. You are not searching for a completely new topic. You are simply following the information the other person gives you. This is one of the easiest ways to keep a conversation going. Listen carefully, then choose one thing from their answer. Ask about it. For example, "I started learning photography recently." You could ask, "Oh, nice. What kind of photography do you enjoy?" They say, "Mostly street photography." You ask, "What do you like about it?" They say, "I like capturing everyday moments." You say, "That sounds really interesting. Do you usually take photos in your city?" Notice what happened. You did not need advanced English. You simply followed the conversation. This leads to another important rule. Be curious. Good conversations are not only about talking. They are about being interested in the other person. If you genuinely want to know more, questions become easier. Instead of thinking, "What English sentence should I say?" think, "What do I want to know about this person?" That small change can make speaking much easier. Now let us learn a simple formula called Ford. It can help you find conversation topics when you do not know what to talk about. F means family. O means occupation. R means recreation. D means dreams. You do not have to use these topics in a strict order. They are simply ideas. Family. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Do you have a big family? Occupation. What do you do? How did you get into that job? What do you enjoy most about your work? Recreation. What do you like to do in your free time? What kind of movies do you like? Do you play any sports? Dreams? Is there anywhere you would like to travel? What would you like to do in the future? Is there something you are currently working toward? These topics can help when your mind goes blank, but remember, you do not want the conversation to sound like an interview. Do not ask question after question without sharing anything about yourself. That brings us to another important skill. Ask and share. If someone tells you something, respond to it and share something about yourself. For example, I love hiking. You could say I like hiking too. I usually go with my friends on weekends. Where do you usually go? Now you have shared something and asked a question. This creates balance. If you only ask questions, the other person may feel like they are being interviewed. If you only talk about yourself, the other person may feel ignored. A good conversation moves in both directions. Now imagine someone says, I love watching movies. Do not simply say, me too. That can end the conversation. Instead say, me too. I usually watch movies on weekends. What kind of movies do you like? Or, me too. I watched a really good movie last week. Have you seen it? The phrase me too is fine, but add something after it. Me too. I also enjoy. I used to. I recently started. I have always wanted to. These phrases help you connect your experience to theirs. Another powerful technique is to use why. Why is one of the easiest ways to continue a conversation. Do you like working from home? Yes. Why do you like it? Because I save a lot of time. That creates another opportunity. How do you usually spend the extra time? Now you have a deeper conversation. You can also ask how, when, where, who, what, which. These question words give you many options. Imagine someone says, I started learning English last year. You can ask, why did you start learning English? Where do you usually study? How do you practice? What is the hardest part for you? Who do you usually practice with? You can continue the conversation for a long time without changing the topic. Now let us talk about something that happens to everyone. Sometimes you genuinely have nothing to say. Your mind goes blank. Do not panic. You can use a conversation bridge. For example, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. How did that happen? What was that like? What happened next? How did you feel about it? What made you decide to do that? These phrases give the other person an opportunity to continue talking. For example, I recently changed jobs. Really? What made you decide to change jobs? I wanted more opportunities. That makes sense. How do you like your new job? It is much better. What do you enjoy most about it? You are simply following the information. You do not need to control the entire conversation. Sometimes the best thing you can do is let the other person talk. Another important skill is showing that you are listening. You can say, really? Oh wow, that's interesting. I see. That makes sense. Exactly. I understand. No way. That's great. Those small responses make the conversation feel natural, but do not use them mechanically. Use them when they genuinely fit. For example, I finally got the job I wanted. That's great. Congratulations. I went to Thailand last month. Oh, really? How was your trip? I've been learning English for 2 years. That's interesting. What made you start learning? These reactions show that you are listening. Now let us talk about changing topics. Sometimes you need to move to a new topic. You can do this naturally by connecting the new topic to something you were already discussing. For example, we are talking about work. Someone says, my company is sending me to New York next month. You can say, oh nice. Have you been to New York before? If they say no, you can continue. Is this your first trip to the United States? Now you move from work to travel naturally. Another example. Someone says, I bought a new phone yesterday. You can ask, nice. What made you choose that one? Then you can talk about technology. You do not need to suddenly say, let's talk about technology. Just follow the connection. This is how natural conversations work. One topic leads to another. Now let us talk about confidence. Many people believe that confident English speakers always know what to say. That is not true. Confident speakers are often simply comfortable with small pauses. They do not panic when they need a second to think. You can say, "Let me think. That's a good question. I've never thought about that before. I'm not sure." I would say, "It depends." These phrases give you time. For example, "What is your dream job?" That's a good question. I would say something where I can be creative and work with interesting people. You did not need to answer immediately. You gave yourself time. That is completely natural. Another important habit is learning common conversation patterns. For example, someone asks, "Have you ever been to Canada?" You can answer, "Yes, I have. I went there a few years ago." Then ask, "Have you ever been there?" Or, "No, I haven't, but I would love to visit. Have you been there?" This pattern can be used again and again. "Yes, I have." "No, I haven't. I'd like to. I've always wanted to." These phrases become useful tools. You can also learn how to politely disagree. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," you can say, "I see what you mean, but I think differently. That's interesting. I have a slightly different opinion. I understand your point. For me, I think this makes conversations more comfortable." Now imagine you are talking with someone and they say something you do not understand. Do not pretend you understand. Ask, "Sorry, could you explain that? Could you say that again? What do you mean by that? Not familiar with that word. Could you give me an example?" These are valuable English skills. Because keeping a conversation going does not mean understanding everything perfectly. It means knowing what to do when you do not understand. Now let us create a practical conversation. Imagine you meet someone at a coffee shop. You say, "Hi, is this seat taken?" "No, go ahead. Thanks." "Are you waiting for someone?" "Yeah, I'm meeting a friend." "Oh, nice. Do you come here often?" "Actually, yes. I work nearby." "Oh, really? What do you do?" "I work for a software company." "That sounds interesting. How long have you been working there?" "About 2 years." "Do you enjoy it?" "Yeah, I do. The team is great and I get to work on some interesting projects." "That's nice. What do you usually do after work?" "I usually go to the gym or meet friends." "How about you?" "I usually go home and relax. Sometimes I watch movies." "What kind of movies do you like?" "Mostly action and comedy." "Me too." "Have you seen anything good recently?" Look at how simple that conversation was. There was no complicated vocabulary. The speakers simply used answers, details, follow-up questions, reactions, personal experiences. That is enough to create a natural conversation. Now here is a practice exercise for you. Choose one topic. For example, travel. Start with one sentence. "I love traveling." Add a detail. "I usually travel with my friends." Ask a question. "Do you like traveling?" Then continue based on the answer. If they say yes, "Where have you been?" If they say no, "Is there anywhere you would like to visit?" If they say Japan, "Why Japan?" "What would you like to see there?" You are building a conversation step by step. You do not need to know what the conversation will look like 10 minutes from now. You only need to know what to say next. That is an important mindset. Do not try to control the entire conversation. Just respond to what is happening now. Listen, respond, ask, share, listen again. That is conversation. And if the conversation becomes quiet, that is okay too. Real conversations have pauses. Not every second needs to be filled with words. You are not performing on a stage. You are talking to another person. So give yourself permission to be human. Now let us create a simple daily practice. Spend 5 minutes every day practicing conversation questions. Choose one question, answer it, then create a follow-up question. For example, "What do you usually do on weekends?" "I usually spend time with my family." "What about you? What do you like to do on weekends?" Then imagine the other person answers. Continue. This exercise teaches your brain to think in conversation instead of isolated sentences. You can also practice with a partner. Tell your partner, "Let's speak English for 10 minutes. Choose one topic." And follow the conversation naturally. If you do not know what to say, ask a question. If you ask too many questions, share something about yourself. If you forget a word, explain it another way. If you make a mistake, keep going. That is how you improve. Let us summarize the most important lessons. First, do not give one-word answers. Give an answer and one extra detail. Second, ask follow-up questions. Third, listen carefully and use information from the other person's answer. Fourth, ask simple questions. You do not need complicated English. Fifth, share something about yourself. Do not only ask questions. Sixth, use natural reactions. Really? That's interesting. That makes sense. Seventh, use conversation bridges when you need time. Tell me more. How did that happen? What happened next? Eighth, learn how to change topics naturally. Connect the new topic to something already being discussed. Ninth, do not panic when you pause. A pause is normal. 10th, do not worry about making every sentence perfect. Your goal is communication. And finally, be genuinely curious about people. When you are interested in the person you are talking to, conversation becomes much easier. You stop thinking, what English should I use? And start thinking, I want to know more about this person. That is when English becomes natural. Remember, you do not need to be the most interesting person in the room. You do not need the biggest vocabulary. You do not need perfect grammar. You simply need to listen, ask, respond, share, and continue. The next time you are talking to someone in English and you feel the conversation slowing down, do not panic. Take what they just said. Choose one detail. Ask about it. Then share something about yourself. For example, they say, I went to the beach last weekend. You say, that sounds nice. Which beach did you go to? They answer, I went to a beach about 2 hours away. You say, oh, that's not too far. Did you go with your family? They answer, yes. You say, I usually go to the beach with my friends. Do you go there often? And just like that, the conversation continues. One question, one answer. One detail, one connection. That is all you need. So do not worry about keeping a conversation going for 30 minutes. Focus on the next sentence. Focus on the person in front of you. Listen carefully. Be curious. And let the conversation develop naturally. Your English will improve every time you use it. And your confidence will grow every time you realize, I can keep talking. I do not have to be perfect. I can make mistakes and continue. I can forget a word and explain it. I can pause and think. I can ask questions. I can have a real conversation in English. That is the goal. Not perfect English, real communication. Thank you for watching. If this lesson helped you, please subscribe to the channel. Your subscription gives me motivation to continue creating more practical English lessons that help you speak more naturally and confidently in real life. Keep practicing, keep listening, keep asking questions, keep talking, and remember, a good conversation does not require perfect English. It only requires two people who are willing to listen, respond, and keep the conversation moving.